Another episode of Sports and Songs podcast. We're in season 3, episode number 43 today. This is the Songs edition. How are you doing, Andy?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good. Always looking forward to the Songs edition. Today is September 15th, 2022. We're coming up on the anniversary of the show.
Yes.
We'll be starting season 4 soon, but
How we've grown.
how we've grown. Lots to do, lots to cover. We've come a long way. Now, we've got an album review today on a certain artist or musician we haven't covered in a couple of years, and it kind of was
in the early days.
Back in the early days. If you look at the archive shows, today's focus is Ted Nugent. The album of the week is Free for All, one that I had, I guess we assumed we've done,
Right.
Assumed we've covered, but back in 2019 we did the self-titled debut of Ted Nugent's band, and did that, but never did this, which includes Free for All, Dog Eat Dog, some good stuff. But we got a lot of notes on it as well. This is 1976, so I know you've got some goodies here. But
yes, I got some treats.
You got some treats. I'll highlight that there, and then there's the album. That's the Nuge, Ted Nugent. This album was released 1976. It was recorded at the Sound Pit in Atlanta, Georgia. This was the second studio album by American hard rock musician Ted Nugent, released 1976 in October. This was his first album to go platinum. And so what we've got here, Andy, I know you're a fan going way back, and I became a fan, later on in life, but the personnel here is very interesting. Ted Nugent really plays, lead vocals on one track. Other than that, it's lead and rhythm guitar, even plays bass on one track. And they've got Cliff Davies, the late Cliff Davies, on drums, Rob Grange on bass, and they brought in Derek St. Holmes to do 3 tracks on vocals, and brought in Meatloaf, of all things, to do the vocals on 5 tracks on this album. This is 1976, Andy.
Yep.
Meatloaf, Bad Out of Hell, didn't even come out till 1977.
Yep.
So here we go. This is very interesting times now for those Ted Nugent fans that are out there. As the recording for Free for All began, rhythm guitarist and lead vocalist Derek St. Holmes left the band, citing growing personal and creative conflicts with Ted Nugent. And of course, 2 solid years of living together on the road obviously took its toll in the relationship. And he says, you know what, I'm out. I just can't do this. Now, this is also a full year before Bad Out of Hell brought him to international success, but vocalist Meatloaf was brought on and was paid a sum of $1,000 to record the vocals on 5 tracks.
Yep.
Now, that I found was very interesting.
Now, you could say in 76 that was a lot of money, but no, not really.
It still was $1,000 for 5 songs, and they said you can contribute to the album, you can do the vocals, but we need you to craft your own vocal arrangements. And we're going to set aside the recording studio for 2 days of recording sessions. He says that after he agreed to do the album, he was sent, quote, a lyric sheet containing just the words with no arrangements. And they said, basically just kind of figure it out for yourself. We'll kind of just wing it in the studio. Here's the lyrics. There's no arrangements. We don't know how this is all going to work. But Meatloaf said that having no idea what the songs were going to sound like, he then created the vocal arrangement for the songs during the 2 days of the recordings. Very interesting. Now this was all news to me. I'm a Ted Nugent fan. I had this album and the cassette tape of this going way back, but I never knew the intricacies. And so they brought on Derek St. Holmes to say, you know what, you want to quit, you want to leave the band, but how about you come back, just do 3 vocals and we'll call it good, including the Dog Eat Dog song. Officially he returned to the group after the Free for All release and performed on the subsequent tour. But this was after band management asked him to return at the request of Epic Records. Epic said, you got to get him back.
Yep.
Derek St. Holmes. And so the songs here, are all written by Ted Nugent except where noted. The song one is Free for All. We all know that. Ted
Yep.
Nugent actually sings the vocals on that, the only one. Next is Dog Eat Dog. Derek St. Holmes does the vocals. Ted Nugent plays bass on that as well. And then song 3 is Writing on the Wall, performed by Meatloaf. Song 4 is Turn It Up, performed by Derek St. Holmes. Song 5 is Street Rats, performed by Meatloaf. Next song is Together. Meatloaf sings it here, but this is Rob Grange and Cliff Davies wrote this song together. It's pretty good. You know, this is the bassist and the drummer getting together and putting together the song Together. Song 7 is Light My Way. Derek St. Holmes sings that, also wrote it along with Rob Grange. Next song, the final 2 songs here is Hammer Down, that Meatloaf sang, and I Love You, So I Told You a Lie. Meatloaf sings that. That's a Cliff Davies song. So what is your take on this, Andy? What's your take on some of the random group session guys coming in to do this album?
Well, I said 1976. I was good times in 76. I started kindergarten that fall. So, good times. Again, like I said before, with the older brother, this was his wheelhouse. This was, as the kids say today, his jam, So as I heard it downstairs, I heard it in the car. I'm like, I'm seeing this album cover, and I'm like blown away. Like, this is cool. This guy sounds cool. The look is cool. This is when Kiss was coming out with their hair and their makeup and their sound right there in your face.
Shock rock.
Yeah, and I'm like, this guy's something else. My brother also listened to some stuff. Ted Nugent, when he first started, was a band called the Amboy Dukes. They started in Chicago in '64 and came up to Detroit. And they had one big hit, Journey to the Center of the Mind.
Yes.
That was their one hit. Eventually, Ted just kind of became the leader of the band, and then they just became his background band. They started going by Ted Nugent then, after a while. But that's, Amboy Dukes is my brother's stuff.
And now that's, Journey to the Center of the Mind is a very acid rock, LSD trip, once again. And we got to keep in mind, Ted Nugent did not do drugs. I don't think he smoked or even drank.
Nope, he never has. Nope.
He was a full-on, sex addict or whatnot. Yeah, loved his women, but always had a very clean lifestyle.
Him and Gene Simmons are on that same path, yeah.
Very same path of Gene Simmons. And so the songs like that have lyrics to do with some of that is obviously written by someone else, but very good song nonetheless. Continue on.
And Derek St. Holmes, you mentioned him. He in the 80s, he took a bit off. He did a album with Brad Whitfield from Aerosmith. Brad had quit Aerosmith for a couple of years. They did their one album in '81, and that was it. Whitfield St. Holmes was one album. So you've gone from playing with Nugent to Whitfield from Aerosmith. Great guitarists. Then in the 90s, Derek St. Holmes got together with a band with Pat Tavers, which we've heard of. He's been in different bands and solo stuff. Benjamin Orr from the Cars. Jeff Curlis from 38 Special. And Liberty DeVito, who's Billy Joel's drummer. They got together. They never did an album. They just toured around and sang everybody else's songs. They did like 38 Special songs and Cars songs and Billy Joel,
Okay.
Everybody else's songs, And then Orr died in 2000. They were doing this in 1999. In 2000, Orr died, and the band just said, done. We're not replacing him. We're done. It was fun. It was something to do. They didn't have an album contract or, tied down by the man. They all went back to their own little bands and did their thing.
Sure.
And that's one thing. You probably see bands doing that here and there. Like, maybe a bunch of bands from the East Coast will do a little trip up and down the side that you never hear about unless you're living there, And then you mentioned Meatloaf. This was a year before Bat Out of Hell came out. He was paid $1,000. In today's money, thanks to our friends at Google, I figured it out. That'd be if he got paid $5,205.11
to do the vocals on 5 tracks on an album.
Instead of $1,000, it was today. It'd be just over $5,000, which again, not that much money. when you look at what musicians make and get paid and everything else. Yeah, he made $5,000 for 2 days worth of work as a starting out musician. That's great pay, but probably pissed away within a week, you know. That's that end. But then Nuge, he's done stuff with Damn Yankees. We've covered them before. Then Democracy is another band he was in. It was a VH1 reality show. I missed the year, but the VH1 year, so late 80s, early 90s there. And here's the group of 5 that were in this band. Sebastian Bach from Skid Row. Okay. Nuge. So there's a 3 feet of hair right there with those 2 guys.
Literally.
Then Scott Ian from Anthrax, got the long goatee there.
Yes.
Jason Bonham on drums, John Bonham's boy.
Okay.
Jason Bonham, who's now the drummer also with Sammy Hagar in the Inner Circle, is where you find. Then a guy named Evan Senfield. Evan got into just a little bit of music, never anything good, this or that. And for those of you sitting there going, I know that name. First of all, shame on you, because he's known from the adult film industry.
Ah.
So that's why the name was blank with you. You had no idea who it was.
No, a blank, just nothing.
Not a clue who he was.
Well, that's a wild cast of characters there.
Yeah, there's 5 guys I would not want to have over for dinner anytime soon. I'm afraid what my house will look like afterwards. I'd love to do a jam session. Don't get me wrong, but
that's Democracy, like
Democracy, but Democracy. Yeah, Democracy only damn like damn Yankees. So Democracy. Okay. It was a VH1 show, so if you go on your Google machine, or if you got VH1 on as an app or something on your Roku, you can probably look it up on their history there. And again, probably just look it up on the Google machine too. But yeah, Nuge, I've always loved his stuff.
Yeah.
Even like I said, back in the day as a kid, just getting into music, like, because you hear it first, you hear the music, the guitar and everything else. Yeah. You figure out the lyrics later, especially at 6, 7, 8 years old. I'm like, this is different. This is cool, you know? And no different than what other stuff I'd listen to, or like my brother had, or my folks had listened to. Because I had a big, wide variety of music library growing up. And Nuge was kind of right in that wheelhouse with all that stuff, you know?
Yeah, I love the sound of all those tracks. You know, some of those songs are slower, some of those upbeat. They're not the best, the best of the best, top-notch recordings, but it's Ted Nugent. It's great, great music. I went through and listened to it again recently, and this entire album, I think all the songs are good.
Well, one guarantee I'll make right now: no one has ever done a Ted Nugent song at karaoke night.
Ooh, there you go. I am sure you can't pull that off.
I don't know if you could. I'd almost guarantee it.
You know, in the song, you know, with the lyrics, you know, "Street Rats." That's Nugent's, you know, lyrics. "Hammer Down" is about, you know, driving fast and going city to city for concerts and whatnot. So, "Free for All."
It's great. You're going to hear this in the weight room. You hear a lot of Nugent stuff in the weight room too.
Okay.
You know, because it's just a hard driving, boom, 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 go, go, go. You hear that in the weight room sometimes. Look at me. Not that I would know, but I would assume you would hear it in the weight room.
You just have to assume this is what's done in the weight room. But it's good. It's good. Now, this is 38 minutes, 28 seconds. It's considered hard rock / heavy metal. I wouldn't say heavy metal, but it's
good hard rock.
It's good. Is it what you call good driving with the windows down alone in your car?
It's summer music.
Summer music.
Yep. Yeah, it's summer music. You got the windows down, pulling into the high school parking lot. You got Nuge going.
Yeah, I liked it. I give this one a high ranking. You know, we've reviewed the self-titled debut, which was also good. Didn't sell as much. This one actually was the first one to go platinum. And Nugent does not have a background of multi-platinum records. They all kind of like Kiss. They'll hover at that platinum level. And that's about it. Maybe more than that, but we're not talking, you're going to get kind of Bon Jovi, Def Leppard here.
And Nugent's not going to sell out, Wembley Stadium or Yankee Stadium for a concert. He's not going to do that either. But he's got a ton of fans, So that's where it's kind of weird. He's got this popularity. Everybody knows Nugent. Everybody loves Nugent. But he only does platinum albums. He doesn't sell out the big arenas. But everybody loves Nugent,
Yeah, and he keeps putting out the albums as well. He keeps pumping them out. And research for this, he had one that just came out this year.
Yeah,
I wasn't even aware of.
Yeah. Plus, he does his side projects. He did stuff with Damn Yankees and other stuff here and there. And
he's still big into the hunting. He separates his year into two buckets. The hunting season and the music season. That's all. And then those are the two things he does, other than politics and whatnot. But he jumps in both feet on both of those topics and jumps right into it. But very good performer, very good artist, very talented.
Very intelligent man, too.
Yes.
You listen to his podcast, very intelligent. He's not well-spoken, though. He's still redneck Ted, but he's a smart redneck. Let's just say it that way. That's a good way to describe Ted.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, that's all I've got for Ted Nugent free-for-all. Anything else on your end, Andy?
No, but maybe one of my Wednesday specials this fall, I might do a special on the Amboy Dukes.
Yeah, we got to get that in the Elm review as well.
Yes,
that is, it's kind of like I think of George Thorogood and the Delaware Destroyers, kind of a musical name there for a group. But the Amboy Dukes, Journey to the Center of the Mind, I did like that.
And did you know how the name Amboy Dukes came up?
No.
It was an author had written it, and the name of the story was Amboy Dukes. But when they went to Europe to perform, they had to go by the American Amboy Dukes. So there was another band in England called the Amboy Dukes already. So
they did have to switch.
When they went to England and Europe, they had to call themselves the American Amboy Dukes.
Okay, switch the branding and whatnot.
Yeah, but again, remember this was mid-'60s when it wasn't that big a deal. No one really cared. You just tweak your name a little bit. No one sued over it and this and that,
Okay.
But yes, well, we'll do a report on the Amboy Dukes one Wednesday special. I'll give a little love to the Amboy Dukes there.
Yeah, and they came up, originally they were going to call themselves the Ted Nugent Band, is what they really wanted it to be. Derek St. Holmes.
Yep.
So you got to be a band. We're not just going to be a supporting cast of studio musicians, so you can get all the credit. We want to have called the Ted Nugent Band. And then second album in, caught them all by surprise. That's part of the reason I think Derek St. Holmes left is Nugent said, we're just going to call ourselves Ted Nugent.
And they go by Ted Nugent, and he sings one song.
They do all the work.
Yep.
The vocals, all the heavy lifting, but Ted Nugent is a brand, much like Gene Simmons is a brand.
Yep.
And you're dealing with some very egomaniac.
Yes.
Very, very full of themselves, but also they can do it because they can also pull it off. But burned a lot of bridges along the way too. So.
Yes, but Eagles that time. I mean, that's what killed Foreigner. That's what killed Journey. Yeah. Eagles get in the way. You get one guy who thinks he's
breaking of the band. The documentary series "Breaking of the Band" is good.
Yep.
Also, I don't know if they did one on Nugent and whatnot, but it shows how the clash takes place, and you just can't get out of that funk, and people butting heads, and that's how these all change.
You can't unsay stuff. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Once it's out. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.